We'll just do a supplementary afterwards.
De school waar alle alternatieve media zaten en waar Mark dus ook werkte. En tegen een uurtje of 12. Did you say what time it was? You heard the Italian coming out?
The Italian came running into the school about 10 to midnight.
Dat is ongeveer 10 minuten te laat. En kreeg dus de hele politiemacht over zich heen.
Anyway, as I said, the front rank of Cantarini's unit peeled off, and they rushed me with their shields, pulled out their batons, and I was shouting, journalist, stamper, and one cop said to me in English, "You are not journalist, you are Black Bloc. We are going to kill Black Bloc." And that's when I knew I was in serious trouble. I was then pushed over to this wall here. This is where I almost died, just here. I was kneecapped, put on the floor. At that stage, none of my bones were really broken, or I didn't think so at that stage. I was then left for 2 or 3 minutes. I saw who I now know to be Dominici, Mortola and Garva and 60 other rank men come down this wall here into Pascoli. They went round to the back and then started to enter the building. There was another 20 cops that came past and formed a southern control line down there. It's like crowd control line. And then one of those cops came walking back along here and kicked me in my spine. And that's that when it caused all the other cops to turn around and start kicking me, and that's when all of my ribs 8 of my ribs on my left hand side were busted. My hand was broken. I was more or less writhing in agony because of my back, my spinal injury. At this stage there was something like about 300 police around me on this side here, and I was thinking I was going to die. These guys weren't going to stop.
Have you any idea if these high officers have seen you?
Well, it was only because of Hamish Campbell switching on his camera and filming the third attack on me. We now know that La Barbara, the chief of the anti-terror squad, Luperi, who was second in command, Mortola, who was in charge of Diaz, Nando Dominici, who was head of Genoa Flying Squad, they were all around me here. Although there is not enough evidence to suggest, but prosecutor thinks they were in charge of my beating. Give you some more detail about the second attack on me, because I'm a very light person. I'm only 8.5 stone in weight. One of the cops managed to hook me under his foot and lift me up into the air, and the cops started laughing, and they were literally kicking me around in the middle of the street like a football and laughing.
Mark is een kleine, hele tengere, hoogmagere jongen. Hij vertelde dat toen hij hier lag op deze stoep, dat hij toen de tweede golf van politie langs is heel gewoon zijn voet onder hem gelegd en hem echt wel de straat op geschopt, terwijl zijn been, zijn rechterarm, zijn linkerarm, 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 zijn lin
It was only the intervention by a state policey with a light blue helmet stopped the attack when he grabbed my jacket and was shouting, "Basta, basta, enough, enough." And he dragged me back here and felt my pulse. At that stage I was in a very bad way. I had massive internal bleeding at that stage. My lung had also been shredded, front and back, with all my ribs sticking into it. I had blood pouring up through my throat out onto the pavement here. The cops who were doing this, knew full well on how bad a condition I was, and yet they didn't stop. Sort of. At that stage, there was a bit of a pause, and you see in the video evidence a van is then brought up, and it rams the gate of the Diaz, Pertini, and then Cantorini's men, and all of the rest of them. There must have been about over 200 cops that poured into Diaz Pertini. They smashed the front door down, the side door as well, and I then began to hear very loud screaming coming out of the building. In a way, I knew what was going to happen to them because it already happened to me.
You were at that moment in the other school.
At that moment, so I heard screaming down the street, "The police are coming, the police are coming." I was upstairs editing a video, just up, I think that window over there.
It's the second or third floor?
Third floor. Okay, don't move off me. We get the shots afterwards and things I point to. Okay, so just keep on me. Okay. Sorry about this.
Do it again.
Yeah. So I was editing a video up on the third floor up there. There was screaming, "The police are coming, the police are coming." There'd been kind of some mounting worry that the police were going to do something awful because they'd shot someone dead the day before, and they would need an excuse for how violent the whole thing had been. They need to catch someone and prosecute someone, so we thought they might raid our building. I personally thought it wouldn't happen because this is the media centre. It was the mainstream liberal protesters. I thought, why would they raid here? But there was this increasing feeling they might. I looked out the window and saw police in the street. So I thought, yes, the police are here. Something is happening. I rushed inside, and I thought, are they in the building I'm in? So I went over onto there's an entrance into the school there. It's the main entrance we were using, and I looked out the side window, and it was deserted. There was no police. The door was locked. So I thought they're not in our building. So then I rushed back inside, told a colleague of mine, Marion, to take my tapes. The tapes we'd recorded over the last few days of all the police violence and the protesters, take them upstairs and hide them on the roof just in case the police did come in. I then went up onto the roof too and recorded what happened in the street, which was quite a frightening experience really, because there was just hundreds of policemen just smashing down these gates, smashing the windows, through the metal grating, smashing the windows. There was screaming from all round. They broke down the first door and stormed in like beetles, just hordes and hordes.
Wait a moment, my tape is...
I rushed inside to find out whether the police were in the building, and then I went onto the roof because I thought I'd get a better shot from the roof.
Okay.
Because we were actually we were working in the media centre producing videos to be uploaded to the web and sent to America to show on American TV. So, we were actually sleeping, and there's a kind of little entrance on the roof up there. We were sleeping in that space.
So you knew the roof?
I knew the
already.
roof, yes. And I thought, I'll just go on the roof. It's safe. I'll get a good shot. I can find out what's going on. So after checking that the police weren't in this building, I went up the stairs onto the roof and started filming down here in night shot mode and infrared mode because it was dark. The police had just broken down the gates pretty much when I started filming, and they were rushing into the courtyard, just hundreds of policemen rushing in. There was no resistance to the police in the courtyard. There was no resistance out on the street. They smashed down this door directly in front of us, and then the police couldn't get in fast enough, basically. There was literally 40 policemen with all helmets like beetles, just trying to get in there, with their riot shields and their truncheons. And then there was another crash, and this door was smashed open, and then the same whole horde of policemen rushed towards the door. And again, just piled in like insects, basically, just rampaging insects. And then there was just more screams, and I was starting to worry, if they were this violent over there, what were they doing here? So at this stage, I stopped filming and rushed downstairs to find out what was going on. At the Intermedia Centre, things had calmed down a little bit, and was pretty deserted by then. Some people had kind of built a small barricade, which was pretty pointless, but to block the door. I then went again to check. I came downstairs. There was nobody coming in here, but I went downstairs to check to see if there were any police in the building. And after 2 flights of stairs, I met this very big, fat policeman, in full body armour with his truncheon, coming up with a helmet, coming up the stairs, out of breath. And he didn't look particularly dangerous, but I just kind of, so I just fled basically, up 2 flights of steps, shouting, "The police are in the building! The police are in the building!" Onto the roof.
Where did you hide on the roof?
Onto the roof, and then there was a police helicopter with a spotlight going around. So I just paused just for the spotlight to come off the roof, and then
Were you afraid?
Yes and no. I've got this strange sort of English sort of thing. The days before, I was at the front line of riots with rocks coming one way and tear gas coming another, and I was there with my sandals and my straw hat. You just have this kind of Englishness about being involved in these things. It's not going to happen to me. I had a good friend, Marion. We were being very sensible. She was watching my back, and we were filming, and we left. The day before, we left about 20 minutes. Riots with rocks coming one way and tear gas coming another, and I was there with my sandals and my straw hat. You just have this kind of Englishness about being involved in these things. It's not going to happen to me. I had a good friend, Marion. We were being very sensible. She was watching my back, and we were filming, and we left. The day before, we left about 20 minutes before they shot the protester dead. So I think, I don't know, you just kind of... Yeah. Anyway, so we got onto the roof, and then I rushed over to the water tower, which is kind of a sunken sort of structure on the roof, with one of the windows didn't have any glass in it. And I just slipped into the water tower, and whispering, "Marion, are you there? Are you there?" She didn't answer. It was total silence, total darkness. So I crept along the water, through this passage, this narrow passage with the water tanks, until I got to the end where this little voice said, "Hamish, it's me." And I looked around, and there was a space where there was one water tank missing, and she was hiding there. So we stayed there for 3-4 hours, basically, with horrible screams in the streets, people crying assassini, cries of rage, cries of fear, a helicopter shaking the building. The building was shaking with the helicopter, was so low, and the spotlight of the helicopter coming in through the window. It quietened down occasionally. We heard people on the roof, which we presume were the police, searching the roof. At one point I came out to the window and filmed a little bit out of the window of the helicopter, and some people looking from other buildings. But basically we didn't leave until the helicopter left, and there was no more cries, and when we came out we found a very shocking scene.
You have been testifying in court yesterday.
Yes.
Had you ever been in an English court?
Yes.
Can you tell me, was there a big difference between the English court and the Italian court?
Very much so. It was, testifying in court was quite strange. It seemed such an open and shut case. The evidence is so much against the police. And the police prosecutors ask such silly questions, and then they try to pick up points, in places where you just think it's obviously nonsense.
The police defence,
yes. Sorry, the police defence, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it seems they haven't almost got a case to, they've lost the case as far as I can see, and the only option they have is to make the case last as long as possible until it gets forgotten, to try and, put obstacles in the way of the case. Is their defence, I think. I think a BBC camera person did an interview with them and they actually said that, the violence was extreme, and our defence is basically to slow it down until the case disappears.
They asked you, and they repeated that question for at least 10 times, what you saw exactly with one eye in the camera and the other eye,
it was very surreal. If you imagine 4 years later, they were discussing, was I looking into the camera at this moment, or was I looking at the building at this moment? And they were trying to establish that in the 2 seconds where I possibly wasn't looking, a hail of bricks and petrol bombs landed on the police and caused them to be so violent. But it was so obviously not true. And I think I managed to put that across in the witness box. There was no resistance to the police, and the violence, the horrific violence I filmed later, the blood all over the walls, the sights of complete, was just police violence.
I wondered because what I saw yesterday in court, what was shown, the footage that was shown when you shot in the Diaz, that was not very much material they showed.
No, the actual footage I shot from the roof was only 3 minutes. I did shoot more footage inside the other building, but it was quite a chaotic night, and I was filming different things at different times, and I'd review the tape to actually see what I'd filmed. And then actually someone would call me away to film something else, and I'd record over the bit I filmed. So the times on the tapes were a little bit juggled up in places, and bits are missing, because it was just very chaotic, the whole night.
Sure it was. Yeah. I'll go aside and make a fence.
Hold the camera, count to 10.
1, 2.
That's it.
Evidence. Yeah, it was shot from one of those 2 windows over there. It was.
Yes.
Well, unlike Hamish.
So, come over this way, decision. Actually, just stand here, it's fine. Let's get off the pavement. So, you're back at Diaz School where it all happened.
Oh yes.
How does it feel?
A lot of mixed emotions, especially like almost 5 years after the raid. I can never forget what happened here. Despite you look at both buildings today and like it was as though like nothing ever happened because the street is so peaceful. It's like any other street in general, or indeed Italy. But I know otherwise. I know what happened here that night.
Okay. So, how's the case going?
case is going okay. I mean, I have a bit of a break. I mean, all the British witnesses have now testified, the ones that have arrived here. We're still waiting for one more from Indie Media, but now the main British victims group is travelling out on the 17th, so I'm now getting ready for that part. And also particularly my own testimony on the 20th of January.
Okay, do you think you're going to win?
Oh yes. Well, the evidence is so overwhelming. It's like they're trying to hold back a dam, which is going to break before the Italian election.
So do you think the Italian legal system can actually allow you to win?
Well, my personal opinion and view on this is because what you've got to understand is the extraordinary statistics surrounding this case. I mean, there's 93 victims, 75 cops. I mean, there's no other judiciary system in the world has ever had to cope with putting on so many cops on trial. I mean, the prosecutors have had to come up with some very creative, ingenious ways on how to prosecute the cops, because Italian judiciary system is not really designed or geared for doing such a massive investigation as Scuola Diaz and Bolsonaro. So I'm not surprised it's taken 4.5 years, because there was so much stuff that happened here that had to be investigated. The cops did so many things wrong as such, and also because of the high number of victims, and there's like 170 witnesses alone for Diaz to be called this year. So
just very briefly, can you tell me just from a personal point of view, what happened to you that night?
Well, I was attacked here 3 times that night. I was the only person in Cesare Battisti, surrounded by about 300 police. At least 60 ran into Pascoli and smashed up Indie Media and GSF, and where the rest went into Diaz and hospitalised 62 out of the 93, including 12 seriously injured and about 5 attempted murders.
So why did they attack you?
Because they thought I was Black Bloc.
And can you say who Black Bloc are?
Well, Black Bloc are, put it this way, they don't demonstrate peacefully. The Italian police have heard many things about this group, and they expected Black Bloc to come here and destroy the town, which I suppose partially what happened. Mind you, there's still a bit of a debate who caused the damage. I'd rather not comment on camera about this particular issue, especially since I was accused of being a member when I wasn't.
So can you explain what you were doing at the Indie Media Centre?
Yes, I can. I was working as an Indie Media news dispatcher on the computers. There were 15 of us up there. And we felt very alone up there, because the other 450 Indie Media journalists went out on the streets with their cameras and their mobile phones, and I worked for 100 hours non-stop without food or anything else, without sleep, to post.
So can you actually say what Indie Media is?
Yep, sure. We're the largest alternative, in inverted commas, anti-globalisation and environmental news network around the world on the internet. We have 144 sites in over 90 countries.
So why did you get involved with it?
Oh God. My politics are I'm an environmentalist. I was a bike courier in London during the 90s, so I hate cars, right? And this is one of the big subjects that the movement of movements is protesting about. I'm not too particularly personally interested in the politics of anti-capitalism or anything like that, really. It's just what capitalism is doing to the environment, and this is why I got involved in the media, and this is why I was here in Genoa. So can also add, I've also got a very great interest in the internet. It has extraordinary powers in breaking down borders, barriers and governments, and taking away their power and giving it back to the people.
Another question, what was it? That's a good one, yes. Yeah. Okay, so what happened? Tell us about the important evidence about trying to...
Well, when I testify on the 20th, the prosecutors are relying on my evidence because I was just about the only person left out in the street here, and I can identify police uniforms, their movements, what they actually did, who was standing around me, you know, because I had the National Anti-Terrorist Squad, Genoa Flying Squad, Diaz and other units around me, their commanding officers, as such, you know, as they decided what they were going to do in that school. So that's one of the reasons why my evidence is important. And the other part is down to you, Hamish, because you filmed the third attack on me. You know, you filmed the most famous footage ever of the Escuela Diaz raid so far. And, you know, without your footage, I wouldn't have a case today.
So how is the footage important to the case?
Because it proves my story.
Okay.
And it also proves how ferocious the attack was, and it also gives the audience some indication of, you know, whilst you're watching what happened to me, what was also, you can imagine what was happening inside that building.
Can you actually you've got the footage in here, can you just talk us through what the footage shows? What
the footage shows, you were filming from the roof of Pascoli. I was down on the floor just here. On the floor I was already bleeding with loads of broken bones and a shredded lung, a damaged spine, broken hand, 8 broken ribs. And, you know, you film the third attack of where a cop comes back from the southern control line and finally puts me out of my misery. And also there was another cop that turned around and kicked all my teeth out. And then I was unconscious for the next 14 hours.
So it shows that the police were extremely violent outside the school before they entered the school.
Well, what Zuka's particularly interested in it is that your footage proves that they were trying to kill me. At that stage, you know, just before the third attack, just as you were switching on your camera, I was already in a very poor state, defenceless and everything else on the floor, and yet they were still continuing to attack me. What they should have done was treated me like a man in the street with a dog, in inverted commas, and just asked my ID and possibly handcuffed me.
But they didn't.
They never did none of that. They went straight to the part of killing me.
And so you want to see these policemen in jail?
Oh yes, very much. I only have one mission in life now, to put these guys behind jail and get my compensation and restart my life.
So tell us about the compensation.
Well, I can't tell you too much on the record, on the camera at this stage, because we're still in negotiations with the Interior Ministry, but signs are looking very positive at this stage that all of the Diaz victims will get all the money that they are after. I am certainly being settled out of court. The Interior Ministry does not want to contest my evidence or the claim.
Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do with the money?
Well, I'm going to make a lot of large charitable donations to Africa. I've already, you know, donated some of my Daily Mail compensation money to a charity in Zambia. I plan to go to Africa later this summer, and then after that I will have to move from the UK because of all the bad press attention I had, you know, 4.5 years ago, which still continues. The corporate media still haven't really, you know, reported the fact that, like, you know, I was totally innocent and stuff, especially the Daily Mail. They haven't retracted their illegal and false headline.
Okay, cool. We need a shot of the street that way.
You're right, Yvonne.
Please.
What, the second attack?
Second attack. Just
Okay.
tell me that. Because all the rest I already have
Okay.
recorded. I don't know why, but it didn't work.
Okay, a few minutes after the first attack, the second attack started when a cop from the Southern Control Line came up here and kicked me in the spine. I then like sort of screamed out, and the rest of the other cops turned around and started kicking and battening me. One of the cops managed to hook me underneath his foot. That's probably what broke 8 of my ribs, actually, that particular part of it. And he kicked...
Mensen hier. Now, we go back to that moment. It's Saturday
night.
It was a quiet moment.
From about 9:30 in the evening when I knocked off from working at Indie Media, it was the first time I had actually any time to myself. So, and I had an info desk just here.
You had time for yourself before you were working.
Yes, I've been working for non-stop for about 100 hours on, the Indie Media network, reporting the news live from here. There were 15 of us working on the third floor, doing Indie Media dispatch and looking after an audience of about 4 million a day. So, and I had no sleep. There was no food or water in this town because all the businesses are shut. 500,000 people had left town. It was, the whole of Genoa was surrounded by 22,000 cops. It was like a siege mentality. Here it was by that night. But I thought by about 9:30 things would have calmed down, and I began to thinking about how to get out of here. But in the meantime, I set up an info desk just here, doing printouts about the major events like Carlo's death, the protests, human rights abuses that happen and stuff like that.
So that was here inside, near to the how you call it in English? Cancello.
Yeah, it was roughly about the same time the Di Bardini's patrol came up Cesare Battisti and accelerated through about 2,000 people and hit quite a few protesters. And the police say that was the trigger for the raid. But for me, I decided after when most people had left this area to go and get something to eat, I then finally walked in to Diaz just after 11 p.m. that night. And when I walked in, most people were settling down in their sleeping bags, but there was a few people standing around, talking and discussing the day's events. There was German Ackercrack in there as well. There's a couple of UK Indie Media people who later left and weren't involved in this part of the raid, but were over there.
Wait a moment, give me a moment to translate.
Okay.
We staan nu naast het... That was the moment.
Yeah, about 10 to midnight, an Italian came running through that door, shouting, "It's a raid, it's a raid." And I was just standing very close to the front door, and I thought I could make it across the road. And an Indie Media colleague of mine also decided to come with me, Sebastian. We came out to these gates here, and another Italian was locking the gates. At that stage, it was the street. This part of the street, the northern end, was quite dark, and so you couldn't see anything through the railings really. So you had no idea that was 300 cops on the other side of the of this wall coming down the road. And so when I finally managed to get out onto the